Vital's B-Practice podcast is proudly sponsored by Maxis, BergTech, and Industry 9.
Yeah. Dak, what happened with the person that ran onto the track on the drop on Jackson's run?
Jackson was like on the hip, and some drunk dude ran out on the landing of the double.
Dang.
Yeah, I don't know what his plan was there. Maybe I don't know. I just don't know. Imagine landing off the double and just smoking a drunk dude. Race over. Do you get the win at that point? Like, if you're 4 seconds up and you hit a drunk guy before the finish line, do you win?
I'm voting yes.
Or do they just say you win, or do they make you do a rerun?
Imagine that. You're the last rider down. Smoke a drunk dude 10 yards from the finish line, 10 meters from the finish line. Smoke a drunk dude. And then they red flag you. And then
you walk across the finish line.
Walk across the finish line. Everyone celebrates. They red flag you.
Last guy down.
You have to get back up in the gondola. And then you have to do a rerun at 5 at night, 5 p.m. You're doing a rerun because it takes you like 45 minutes because they gotta reset everything, get everything ready. You're doing a rerun at like 5 p.m. Crowd's left. Everyone's gone. After party's begun.
No, the moat gave way. No one can get into the after party.
What?
There was no after party this year because the pedestrian footbridge collapsed.
No way.
Turned people to Oreos. I heard that the only injuries I have heard of is the Scott team manager and Jules. I think were injured in the drawbridge collapse.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dude, I know they just don't build things strong enough in Canada. Those awnings, they don't hold up to weight. Bridges don't hold up. Yeah, I need to build things stronger out there.
Here we go.
We could have done this earlier, but Jason was out riding.
I was working.
Did you hear this? Jason was out riding in the midday heat. And we could have done this earlier.
I was grocery shopping. Who's domesticated now?
That's what I gotta go do after this. Today was the first time I rode bikes since I filmed last Friday. And filming does not count. Dude, we filmed last Friday in Laguna in this Santa Ana heat wave we've had. Me and Logan were both dying. It was horrible. We did it we did stair steps, and like 5 shots in, I was like, I gotta sit in the shade and take a break. Like I'm just sweating from everywhere. No, I was.
They say, man, they don't make them like they used to.
It's true. No, dude, I had to wake up at like 5:45 to finish that new transition that launched this morning, and I had things I needed to go film and ride, so I did go ride. I treated myself to some midday heat suffering.
You got some breaking news. Healing vibes to G. Atherton.
No.
Is this live from Instagram right now?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, no.
Does it say what happened?
Oh, wait, it says that he was testing. Is there a video of it?
Oh my goodness.
No.
Stop. What's it on?
Say no.
He rides off a building. There's no better way to describe it. Like halfway through the video, you're expecting him to pull a parachute.
Is it on his Instagram?
Yeah, it's on his Instagram 27 minutes ago. Well, I was going to say we should talk about Rampage next week and do a post-Rampage podcast. I think we did one last year. But I'm pretty nervous to watch Rampage. I'm not going to lie.
I don't see him right off a building. Oh, my God.
It looks not real.
He was in free fall for like 4 seconds. Oh
There's
my!
no
wow.
way that you can ride a bicycle and ride away from that.
I'm gonna send this to Blake Motley and ask him to do the math on how long he was in the air and how big of a drop that was.
If you fall at 9.8 meters per second and
Blake knows that math.
terminal velocity of 9.8 meters per
Dude,
second.
he's so gnarly. He is so gnarly. That is
Jesus.
I feel like
really friggin' gnarly.
I feel like G frustrates me because I don't like watching that video because it's happened a lot in his career. But like, that's just what he does. He's made a career of being, well, he was super fast, still is fast, but then he's also gnarly freeride guy. He's an underrated mountain biker for sure.
He is a gnarly man. I just
You
don't
look-
know if,
Yeah.
say you did grease that landing, were you riding out of that?
You're hitting terminal velocity of speed after that thing.
I don't
Like,
really
even
know.
if you do ride out of that.
Read an intro.
Yeah. Everybody go watch G at the 10 story and wish him a speedy recovery.
We
All
gotta,
right.
we gotta get it. If we're gonna go into this, we gotta get an intro running. This
All right.
is.
You're
Then
right.
we can really talk about this.
Mhm. We only have an hour and 45 minutes because I work a 9 to 5 and we got to be done with this by 5.
Yeah, and I gotta cook dinner.
Me too.
And we're gonna
All
take
right.
a mid podcast break so I can put the salmon on the grill.
Okay.
Sounds delicious.
Got a Norwegian to feed.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Vital MTB's B Practice Podcast, presented by Maxis, Industry 9, and Berg Tech. I'm Jason Schroeder, as always, joined by Tanner Stevens and Dakota Norton. It's over. The 2023 World Cup downhill season has come to an end. Got some stats for us. 8 races, 7 winners, 5 first-time winners. If I did my math right, 19 points-paying races if you include qualifying, semifinals, and finals, which is too many. Rachel Atherton made her return to downhill and won another World Cup, in case anybody forgot, because that was months ago. Valley Hall became the first female to win Worlds and the World Cup overall since Rachel in 2018. Loic took his 3rd World Cup overall title, and our boy Dak added 2 more podiums to his name. I would say this is one of the best World Cup seasons we've had, and also a year with a lot of changes with Warner Bros. And Discovery taking over broadcasting. We added semifinals. We had less riders in finals. A lot of unknown going into the season. I would say going into next season still. So I want to kick this thing off with our Industry 9 Buzz Report with the question for all of us, starting with Dak, is what are your thoughts looking back on the 2023 season? And how did the format play out? Does the sport seem like it's in a good place? How do you feel about the future? And you can touch on you yourself as a racer, but maybe looking at just downhill racing as a whole as well.
I feel like I need to, like, in my Aaron Plessinger voice, do like a woo-wee boy. It's been a hell of a ride. Something of that sort. A cowboy hat with a mustache, mullet hanging out the back.
It's appropriate.
That's the only thing that comes to mind.
You got the hair.
Man. Ugh.
You got more hair.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, the season. Thoughts looking back at the season. It just seems like we were doing it for a long time, and I know that the season was like actually condensed and late, but it seems like it seems because it's the fall, it seems like it was a long season, even though it wasn't necessarily a long season.
Mm-hmm.
I did race 3 races back to back in this last run because of the US Open. So that maybe made it feel a little longer, and it being fall at Snowshoe, fall at Mont-Sainte-Anne, and then I came home to like a cold fall day, even though it's nice here in Tennessee today. So it's kind of makes it feel like a long season, even though it was pretty condensed and tight. The format made for a lot of racing, and is as Semifinals, I thought would keep me busy on race day and make it less suspenseful because you're not waiting around all day for that one run. I think it was just as suspenseful and nerve-wracking because it was another qualifying pressure, and I think that made the season feel longer because of the added. It's like, oh, you go through qualifying, whoo, I made it through, and then it's like, oh, I got to do it again, and this time actually no one's protected except for 5 dudes. There's 3 or whatever. So
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
nobody knows. Or if you're top 10 in the overall. The last race I was protected, so that made it easy. But I think overall with the block of the season, it felt long. It was a lot of racing.
That makes sense because I mean
You
you
also had a
started
month
in
off.
I was gonna say
too.
you started in June, which isn't that long ago compared to years past where Lords was usually in March. However, you did 3 in June, and then you had 3 back to back again. What was that? August into September. And then, like you're saying with US Open, you had another block of 3 races where the amount of time that those races were packed into maybe was more condensed, but that makes it feel longer because you're doing so much back to back to back to back to back to back. So much. Plus semifinals. Like that has to be a factor as well.
Yeah, like you said 8 or 19 races. There was 22.
Yeah, 19 just because of
7. There was 8
the last
rounds.
round. The last round didn't do quali semi for points, but yes,
Yeah,
you
so-
still had races for those.
Yeah, but so we had 8 rounds, 7 times 3 races at each round.
Did I do my math?
21. Yeah, so you had 22. Just got to correct that here. You had 22 points paying races.
I wonder what I did my math on.
Was it 7 rounds total, probably?
Oh, you know what? I probably
Those-
saw 7 winners. I was just doing the math as I typed it out.
Yeah.
That's why I write bike reviews, everybody, and I don't design bicycles.
But yeah, like there was a lot of racing.
Yeah,
And
a lot of racing.
because you added
And-
another round, but you also added 8 more races within that, like
Yeah.
race runs.
And a lot of times I was like, woo, it's done. That was good. Oh, wait. I got to go do it again.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain to people the feeling of like even a semifinal race run. You go up there, you do your warm up, and you get yourself in this like focused place where you almost don't know what's going on around you, and then you get to the bottom, and it's like you come to, and you're like, "Oh, that was okay. I did good. I didn't do good. Oh, I was fastest. How many riders are there to go? I don't remember. Would I qualify 6th? Okay, so I'm in 4th. 6 riders. That's a top 10 semifinal. What was the time gap? Watch the top couple riders.
Yeah.
And you like are kind of like coming to. It feels like you're like
You have a very large amount of like chemical release in your brain, and there's like a big dump of chemicals basically in your brain, like
And then-
serotonin and
yeah.
dopamine and adrenaline. That's all like coming out in this 5 minutes, or like between like an hour to like it comes to a head at this like 3-minute run, and then you get
And
done with that, and it's like, and you're like, you're just like
and-
sitting there trying to like come back to normal.
And then you're like, oh, wow. Okay, I got to go 4 seconds faster than what I just did. Wow. Okay, how do I do that? Back to it.
Yeah.
Go try to eat a little bit of food, do it all over again. So that was bizarre for me because even like snowshoe, I qualified really well and I'm not used to that. And then I came down in 5th and it was like a guaranteed podium. Where last week I was just off the podium. And it's just you're like trying to figure all this stuff out in the finish corral while there's a lot of noise and people are cheering or not cheering. And you're like then you're standing in front of 15,000 people trying to figure out what's going on. So it's difficult for sure. Super difficult. And it made for a long feeling year.
Do you think having as many first-time winners as we did this year was a result of semifinals, or was there any correlation to that?
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know if it was me, but Loris Vergier looked and I don't know, maybe he was sick or maybe he's recovering or he was injured or who knows what. But like Loris Vergier in particular just looked tired at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Like tired. And I don't know, maybe he got sick earlier in the season or has symptoms or he's injured. You never really know the full story, but I felt mentally pretty exhausted at the end. Like yesterday being home, like I had a travel day on Sunday and then Monday I was like home and I'm like, okay, well, I got to like start working on stuff for next year and send out, proposals and put a CV together, and I got to do bonuses and for the year for sponsors and like all this admin I have to do. And I was just sitting there, I was just staring at the wall. I'm like, I can't even do anything. Like I'm wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it did feel like a really long season.
Yeah, understandably.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the, like you're saying, the semifinals, it adds more opportunity for the younger racers to get more experience, and just racers in general to get more experience racing at the world level, and which used to take a lot of years because you had to show up to a race and qualify and then get a race run. Your one opportunity basically, but now you're getting 2 opportunities on a day to gain that experience of racing at the world level on the world stage in front of big crowds and live feed and all of that. There's the infrastructure is there for people to progress more quickly now.
Well, and they're just going to axe it for next season.
But yeah, like with that being said, we've said it multiple times. The semifinals were a bit lackluster and kind of made the standout show not that big of a spectacle in my eyes.
100%. I would say that's the general consensus between racers, industry people that are tied to brands as sponsors, and probably most viewers, is that it just dulls probably the biggest draw to downhill, which is that one run. Everything's focused on one run, and it still is, but by the time we get there, viewers are probably a little fried and tired, because at the end of the day, it's not like some other sports, say Supercross, where you watch somebody around the same track, and so there's like factors that can change and this and that, and there's like head-to-head competition. Like you're just watching people down the same track on the same line over and over again. And I think Dakota's tiredness from the season and per round with that, I think people feel that watching, and you kind of lose the excitement a bit.
It was weird for me at Snowshoe in particular. Like, so I qualified 6th at Andorra. I didn't do well in the semifinal at Ludenville. And then like as I got up to form and I was riding fast, it'd be like, okay, whatever, qualified 5th in the qualifier, whatever. Like that was a smooth and steady run. Get ready for the next day. And it's like, do practice, qualify 5th. It's like, okay, got some points, which I need for the overall, which the top dudes consistently get those points, right? So you have to ride fast all the time. And then it was like, okay, now I got to go up for my race run, or what? I don't remember what I qualified at Snowshoe. And then I'm like, all right, I have to go up for my race run, and I'm going to ride fast enough to get a podium. But also at the same time, I know I'm fast enough for a podium, so I don't want to dick it up and not get a podium. And it's like this middle ground of management where I feel like in Snowshoe I could have raced to win, but I didn't race to win because in the semi, I did. Don't get me wrong. That didn't sound necessarily right. Like I raced to win, but at the same time I was managing a podium at the same time. So it took away from that final spark for me in the final as well, that allows you to do those magical things, which
makes sense.
Hard to explain.
Yeah. I'd Jack Rice went around at Mont-Sainte-Anne and interviewed a bunch of people. You can find it on Inside Line podcast, asking this question, basically people's take on the season, state of downhill, future of downhill. And I think in general, everyone's over semifinals, and my gut tells me that the powers that be will come back. I think I've already said this. They'll come back next year and be like, we know semifinals have not been great, and we've listened to you, and we're going to go ahead and just take it out. It'll be 10 women, 30 men out of qualifying, and they'll basically just take the problem they created and then resolve it for themselves. But and it's, I think if you were to go back and listen to our podcast beginning of the season where we talked about the format and speculated on a lot of reasons of why they were doing it, it seems a lot more clear now that the goal or the end was always going to be less people in finals. And this was a convenient way to work towards that. And I'm kind of okay with that on one hand. I think that Aaron Gwynn, when Jack interviewed him, made a good point that, if Warner Bros. And Discovery has a 2-hour slot to film downhill racing for World Cups, and that's what needs to happen, like if that's all they have, like their hands are tied to a certain degree and there's going to be compromise somewhere. But it seems like if that's what's pushing less riders, there could be another compromise that's more like, hey, we're going to have the same 15, or really it should probably be 20 women in finals, and then the same 60 men in finals, but we'll only broadcast top 10, top 30, or whatever they need to fit their TV package. But my concern, I'll answer the question, is it seems like a lot of the changes and the general vibe around downhill racing is it's all about the cost, and there's less racers in finals now, and the separation between top teams or racers and everyone else is becoming big. And that's a concern for the majority because those top teams don't make up the majority. And yeah, I don't know. It sounds like that whole push to make downhill racing this elite sport, which on one hand I'm very for, and I think it's awesome to see our sport evolve that way. I don't know at what rate they're trying to do that, and so hopefully it's a slow migration that's followed, like the underwash or whatever you want to call it. The backwash behind that is they're putting more energy into a different series. It's more of a feeder series or national series in countries to allow racers that are currently at World Cups and struggling or on the brink to do another series that they can supplement a living off of, and then maybe go into World Cups, and then you can keep making World Cups more elite. But just sounds like, I mean, if you go listen to those interviews, I actually didn't make it all the way through it, but Loic Bruni gets interviewed, and his take is through the lens of the top athlete in our sport right now on the main team with specialized bicycles. So what the powers that be are telling him are probably what he wants to hear and what the team wants, and, catering a little bit more to kind of how they see the sport and how it benefiting them most, which is a lot different from like Abigail Hoagie. Her interview is really insightful as, it's her and Anna running a team. It's 2 racers, but they are in the mix. Their names are in the results sheet along with other racers that are top athletes. And it sounds like their comments and concerns are just being stifled. And it's like, yeah. Well, we don't really see you being here that much longer anyways. And we're just trying to focus on this over here. And it's a weird one because they need racers to show up at races, and they're a massive company. So sure, this might be like some little side thing that's not costing them that much, but it's still costing them money. So it's in their best interest to have everybody okay for the most part with what's going on. And it just seems to me like lack of communication, more separation between, in their mind, who's elite and who's not is going to be maybe problematic and kind of a bummer in the next couple of years.
It's the separation between church and skate,
That's pretty good. That's actually real good.
It's pretty fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Soapbox.
but yeah, it has been about marketing dollars and marketability and how you can make money off of it, how you can monetize the sport, which needs to be done.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's saying that. Like, I think everyone can agree that they want to see World Cup downhill racing on the main stage because it deserves to be there. It's the most exciting racing going on right now. Like we talked about, I think on the last podcast, Moto is pretty predictable right now. Like F1, very predictable.
Yeah.
They're going to the same tracks. They're doing all the same stuff. And World Cup downhill is like the unpredictability is what makes it exciting.
Yeah.
And it's hard to narrow that down into, or like whittle that down to 20 or 30 riders, 40 riders even.
Yeah.
I mean, put that into like a timing slot for TV.
It's I feel like the argument is always like there's so many racers that could win on a given weekend, which is true, but if you create a system that allows those racers still the opportunity to be in finals and have a shot at winning, but not like that might not happen every weekend. Like it seems to me like it's okay if we condense this down to only so many racers, or we do the B final concept, or we do whatever it is to make more storylines, more marketability with it all. I'm like, market the shit out of this. Let's get that money coming in, you know, like there's nothing wrong with that. But it seems like it needs to be more of an open conversation, more transparency of what's going on, because it sounds like brands or teams that like Warner Bros. Discovery wants them to be stoked. They're like, what the hell is even going on here? And yeah, like there is a solution to allowing racers to continue developing to race World Cups, or allowing more privateer type racers to be at World Cups and give them the opportunity to have a breakout ride, maybe without some of the like narrow-minded focus the organizers seem to have about making it elite, like the super elite thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if you're gonna do it, just do it.
I know,
like we talked about at the beginning of
right?
the year was like,
Yeah,
I was like, just do it, just cut it to 30 for the final, and like don't have a semifinal.
Shia LaBeouf it, just do it.
Say it with your chest, you know. If you're gonna say it, say it with your chest. You know, own it. Don't try and make everyone happy.
Yeah.
In the end, everyone will understand why it's done. If you're making money, hey, if it's to make money and it makes money, can't argue with that, right?
Yeah. Well, and semifinals has to be losing them money. Like it's just so much extra. There's a third race or a second race and a lot like it's just let's take that money and do something better with it. Those poor dudes or ladies on the hill holding cameras all day.
They're not holding a camera, but they're operating one.
Manning a camera, standing, maybe.
Womaning a camera too.
Yes. Those individuals. Let's just
okay, we're getting off.
Let's take that somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah. And then
do we touch on I mean, Dak, how do you feel about next year? I mean, I know I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're also like a racer at these events. So you can be as diplomatic as you prefer.
Well, because they say there's a schedule. Teams have a schedule. It's not set in concrete's not fully set and dry on it, but it's there.
It sounds like they're separating XC and downhill events more, which has added cost and travel for the same number of races. Boots on the ground guy.
They said they were going to do all this stuff to make this big event and have the EWS there, and it's going to be this big deal, and now the EWS isn't there, and it's not really this big deal. I don't even know anymore, if I'm being honest. I can't. There have been a lot of meetings happening with elite team managers, the powers to be, and I have not been in any of them. So I don't know. They're going to do what they want to do. They're going to do that, whatever that is. So
Have you heard anything about the Riders Union? Because it seems like there's even more separation now with the separation of big teams and privateers, and the benefits for the riders that have the platform and have the voice. Like there's a lot more benefit for them to not say anything now than there is for them to kind of speak up. And
I think it's just
say
so
anything.
varied. Like
I
that
think-
Loic interview was very telling in that he didn't have too many frustrations with the current setup versus Bernard Kerr in his position as a racer / team manager. And he was like, I'm over this shit and I'm like concerned about where things are going. Versus Loic was like, he had like the 5-year plan hat on and what it can do for the Loic Bruni brand, and which I'm not like, he should be doing that. He's Loic Bruni, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
there are a few different viewpoints.
and then like
So-
Loic, someone who's 27, 28 years old, Loic, is he going to be here in 5 years? Maybe not.
Yeah.
So like he's looking really for the next few years.
buddy, I'm going to be here in 5 years.
Well, because you have
He's
to be.
gonna
Here.
be
Loic,
here.
Loic has like 6 world champs titles, 3 overalls now.
You don't.
What do you mean?
You're going to
Dak's
tell
just
me
getting
he's
going.
not going to try to go to war with Aaron and Greg?
He's not going to Greg Menard it.
No,
Wow.
he's gonna find
You heard it
himself a
here
wife.
first.
No,
And
He is a lover.
yeah,
He's
gonna
got
find himself a wife.
his new
gonna have a
girlfriend seems
kid.
pretty cool.
You have a new girlfriend.
Yeah, new girlfriend seems pretty cool.
Didn't tell us.
And I think here's what I'm going to say. I think that you know, he's going to get in deep, maybe go supercar racing or something, and he's going to stay in the game.
He's gonna stay in this game or that game. Supercar
Hey,
racing
the
game.
more money you make, the more expensive the hobbies get. I think we got him for another 5 years. He ain't going
Alright.
nowhere. I mean, honestly, for my sake, I hope he does. I hope he gets bored, go somewhere else, get out of here.
Yeah, if he
No, it's good.
puts in the next 4 years, he gets 4 more world champs titles, matches Nico, and then
He might sail off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Well, with all this stuff in mind, I think getting back to the point here of things, I just think things have been very secretive lately. All of the meetings have been very secretive, and maybe that is why Bernie's so angry, because he's in those meetings. I think once everyone gets home, a lot of the information gets leaked. We'll know more of what the future is going to look like, and we'll see what the Riders Union does. But at this point in time, they're operating tactfully, and I think
Still Team 6 out here.
Field Team 6. I think that whether they choose to go the DH2 route, like, you know, F1, F2, whatever, however that works. If they choose to have an
27.5
LCQ, whatever they 27.5 class, size medium bike class,
I'm making a return to racing.
160
I'm gonna be
travel
Chris
racing,
Blows out there. Just
160 travel racing.
I think that's enduro racing.
Oh yeah,
They just killed that this year. It only took
Yeah.
them 1 year and they murdered it.
dude, I've been saying it forever.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's from my end with my hat on. It's to be determined. I can't speak on it at this point in time.
Well, I just appreciate you being the one that pulls us back on track. I don't think that's ever happened. So
Yeah. DH2 though, it's gonna be a thing. 27.5, 26-inch class.
DHR2? DH2.
He's just plugging sponsors now.
Yep. DHR2, my go-to for rear tire. Which actually, you guys probably never listen to the ads that run at the very beginning of these, but I'm going to change them up. And I'm not going to put them at the beginning so people can't skip them no more.
Dang, that's really not cool of you.
What?
No, it is cool. It's cool. It's all good.
It's actually going to be
But-
part of your guys' next year contract. Is you fools have to write at least one ad a month.
Dude, I wrote ads at the beginning of. Well, I'm loosely terming that I wrote them, but ChatGPT wrote them, and they never got released.
You know, if you scroll to the bottom of this document, they're actually maybe there. No, they're not there anymore.
I'm gonna
But,
need a sponsor correct ad.
We can maybe make that happen.
You know, Dakota is a hot topic in the forums.
I don't know what you're talking about. Hey,
What?
I
I've been
literally had
informed.
some. You know what? I literally had some dude get in an argument with me that I was signed to Trek. They're like, "You're going to Trek. You're even wearing the
Well,
Trek kit."
You were wearing their
What?
gear this weekend.
I told
Like,
Hervé, I was like,
you guys
Hervé,
have
that's
lost
so
it.
nice of you to like donate some gear to Dak. Just take some IC Commensals and Trek's gear and give it to Dak for the weekend.
Ugh.
Just team rumors. Team
Can
rumors.
we just get you on a different gear sponsor?
Why? What's wrong with this?
I don't. It feels like Swerve doesn't love you as much as he should.
He says he does. That's the thing. He
Who's
says he
doing
does.
better
He
than
says,
you?
He said no. We're not going into this. He just says he loves me.
Okay.
They say they
That
love
is
me.
the first sign. I don't know if he says that to his kids. So
Definitely
He
Leah.
says he loves them. I think that with the funny thing is Thomas from 100% has been. A lot of people have been claiming that he is Hervé's kid, which is
Tomas
pretty
the
funny.
homie, though.
Tomas awesome, dude. He's like, everybody thinks I'm his kid. I'm not his kid. I'm not. I'm too old to be his kid.
that's pretty good.
Which is pretty funny. It's
I
pretty
saw
funny.
Tomas in the team manager's little lounge there at the bottom of the race.
For anybody that doesn't know, Hervé is, I guess, what would you call him at 100%? The big boss?
He's
One of
he's
the
been
bigger
like global
bosses.
sales and marketing forever.
Yeah. And then
It's the owners and then Hervé, basically.
Mhm.
yeah. So he's good people. And then on my boots on the ground guy is Tomas. And he's a good dude. He is
Yeah.
also French.
No, we only give Hervé crap because that's basically his personality in a nutshell is talking shit.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's
No.
great. He's the best. Our first he likes to tell the story about how we first met when my alarm was going off on the floor in Jason's hotel room, and he said he was going to if I ever did that again, he was going to pee on me. You ever do this again?
Was that in
In
Lawrence?
other words, yes.
Mm.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys saw, but somebody left a comment on. You probably don't read comments, but I do. But somebody left a comment on our snowshoe podcast that was like, it'd be cool in the off season if you guys did a how you all met podcast and what your backgrounds are.
We should do that.
Yeah, I just didn't think anybody would give a shit, but we totally can.
They want some context.
The key
How
here
we
is
ended up here.
we're
The key is you
gonna.
got to listen to every episode.
What's that?
The key is you have to listen to every episode. It's a puzzle.
It kind of is a puzzle. Somebody also was like, "You guys should do like a best of moments," and I'm like, I don't remember what we were talking about 20 minutes ago at the beginning of this podcast, let alone what we talk about in the past.
There's only a couple moments we have to share, and that's you blowing the knees out of your pants every time I saw you, and Tanner pedaling through the air on a spray painted bike,
That is true. And you riding a Morpheus.
and me right.
Or your team manager laying in the bushes in the weekend.
We could definitely have a story time, but we'll
For
have
context,
some.
Jason and I have driven across the country like 6 or 7 times together. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of stories.
There are a lot of stories. We'll have to put together. We'll do that in the upcoming months. We'll do one of those, and I'm going to make a point to force us to do these at least once or twice a month just to keep them consistent. Because there's always they don't have to be too racing focused, but there's a lot of people we should chat with. So that would be fun as well. And Dakota, I feel like you and Frida need a vacation, and San Diego is the perfect place for that. You can stay here.
Wow, that sounds great. I can't wait to park my van in your driveway again.
What?
This is going to
You can
be
get on a-
awesome.
you can get on a
You're going to
flight.
let me in the house?
Yes, you can fly here.
I also lived
Oh.
in both of these human beings' parking lots for some time in my van. It's pretty much homeless.
I also
for a
lived
while.
in Dakota's place for some
See?
time in Knoxville.
Stories.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm still working on those flights. I'm trying to wrestle up a couple of flights for you boys to come out here.
Hey, I mean, we'll have to put something together. I don't know. I can't speak for Tanner and I, but I might be able to convince Spomer of some work shit to at least get me out there. Sorry. I'll see what I can do. It's a lot easier to fly just Dakota to the West Coast versus both of us to the East Coast. So, yes. All right. Moving on.
Yeah,
dude. We should move on. We need
That
to
wasn't
move
as
on.
that whole conversation wasn't as juicy as I wanted it to be. But again, anybody who hasn't listened to Jack's interviews with everybody, they're pretty good. So give those a listen.
We're on our way to another 3-hour podcast.
Nope. We have an hour and 9 minutes. All right. Shorts bounty. The conclusion. Drum roll.
Dun, dun, dun.
I just want to go ahead and say it was a stupid idea that was fun. That was the whole goal, was fun. And it got really, it turned into like half a morning for me reading UCI rules, Canadian Cycling Federation rules, USAC rules, because I messaged Bernard being like, hey, can you post this on your story? And then all he did was just send back like a screenshot of half a piece of paper that said you couldn't wear shorts with no real context. He said, not going to happen. And I was like, I appreciate your services. And so
not going to happen. That's a very Bernard response.
Yeah, I was like, hey man, thanks. Sorry to take up your time. But
Throw some knuckles at it.
Yeah. I went and nuxed myself. And anyway, so basically, depending on the country a race happens in, there's like other country rules that come into effect, which I think we've all known, like France and back plates and elbow pads has been a thing for a long. Austria, like Leo Gang, it's always around. So at Snowshoe, there was like, it was a communication sent out to racers and team managers that basically states what those rules are based on the country. Short story long, at Snowshoe, I don't think you think, I don't remember if you actually could wear shorts or not, but at MSA,
No, she said you could.
Could you?
Yeah.
I don't even remember at this point. It was just another one of those things that I was like, the UCI is fucking on one. Like, who cares? This is super
Canadian
dumb.
cycling, they hate us.
I mean, it's Canadian
hate
cycling.
They hate us.
I mean, sure. Turns out Canadian cycling must be as kind of whack as USAC is. But for MSA, because we made the shorts bounty continue to that, the wording was written by somebody who didn't speak English, but it was worded as such that juniors, it didn't look like you could wear shorts, but elites, it was just recommended to wear pants. And I didn't really pay attention / look that hard, but I'm pretty sure nobody stepped up to the plate again. I changed the rules of it to where the junior raced with shorts over their pants, they would still win the $250. Honestly, I would have doubled down and said $500 because that would have been glorious. So I think the shorts bounty, it stirred commotion. I think people appreciated something around downhill racing that wasn't so serious, which was sort of the whole concept to begin with. And I think for next year, we'll have to look at, once the schedule comes out, try to figure out if there's a race in a country that you can actually wear shorts, and then the shorts bounty will be a one race thing. Try to promote it a bit more. Maybe do a video of Dak cutting his pants in half. I don't know. But anyways, that's how it ended for anybody who cares. 2 other notes before we keep moving on. Dean Lucas update, because he's been keeping everybody informed via Instagram. He's back home. It sounds like if anybody who doesn't know, he had a spinal cord injury basically at Snowshoe, and he's still able to move and everything, but he's in that very early ages of recovery where his left side is still pretty numb and lack of mobility. But from what he posted last when I looked, he's probably like today he's going to do like go to the specialty centers where they start intensive recovery. So it's a huge bummer after he was planning to retire this year. I think if anybody has the mental capacity to deal with that, it's somebody like Dean. And I'm just bummed because when somebody retires, you want them to like go out just racing, you know? And now I'm like, I kind of want him to come back and hope, like, you know, and I'm assuming he'll come back to where he's riding and be able to do a World Cup again would be really cool. So yeah, everybody send positive vibes and healing vibes to Dean.
Yeah, it's a very strange place to be where he's at, where he can kind of move things but doesn't have total control over it.
Yeah,
I guess in a sense.
I don't know anything about those injuries, but I think it's a lot of positives where he's at.
Yeah, that was when I did mine. It was my right arm that I lost like all feeling in, and it was like that for about like 3 or 4 weeks. It was really strange. And then like it got tingly for a while, but like I could move it. I was lucky that I could move it, but I just couldn't feel anything, which was
weird.
The weirdest sensation.
Yeah.
So yeah, he looks like he's doing a lot better though, which is cool. Really, really good to see.
Totally.
And good to hear that he made it home.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a long one. So I'm sure I have to imagine just that relief alone will put him in a good place to start doing rehab stuff.
Yep.
Last note that's worth talking about: freaking Takis sponsorship. We had banners in the rock garden. That's the type of outside sponsorship we need in this sport. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, I gotta text them right now. I gotta put this.
I thought you photoshopped it.
I was like, Takis sponsorship.
It did not look real.
This is what the people need to be talking about.
Yeah, that was sweet. Who knows what we'll get next year? Maybe we get an Old Spice, Mountain Dew. I'm drinking Mountain Dew, baby. Shout out to Sean White. Actually, one last thing, Dakota. What did you think when the diaper was finally taken off of the Specialized? I don't really care that much. Hot take, but maybe it's just because I'm constantly in this world of bike tech shit. But it looks crazy.
Someone who shall not be named had posted like a CAD drawing of how a shock could bottom bracket concentrically spin and push on the shock, and essentially what the Specialized bike was, and it just kind of said like, like, I don't know if this would work, but if it did, it would be good. And then the story was taken down. So I'm just happy to confirm that that's what it really was the whole time, more than anything. And also, I'm really interested that the shock was not on the bottom of the bike.
Yeah,
that would have been neat.
That bike's sweet looking.
It looks pretty F1.
So it's pretty much the same thing as like Ancelotti, which I don't know if anyone knows what those bikes are out there, but
Enchilada.
It's like an Italian manufacturer, uses the same sort of suspension design, and Win Masters used to ride for them way back in the day, about 2007 or so, 2008 maybe. But yeah, if you're looking for a cool bike that basically has a similar suspension layout, look at an Ancelotti.
So the Specialized diaper is off, but the diaper is not. I think the hot take here is more that the diaper is still on Blake's bike, because I think I know, I want to believe what I think is happening in there, but
doesn't he have a lever on his bar that does something with the shock?
Yeah. Is it electronic or is it?
The shock has been covered for a considerable amount of time, and
it has been
2020.
And when we're not going to talk about it, but
why?
When we do talk about it, I'm going to say, "I told you so."
You haven't told us anything.
You have to tell
Exactly.
us now, and
I
then
know.
you can say, "I told you so." That's how it works.
It's
I
like
just think
me
that-
saying that it was
are
all the
you-
marketing dollars at the beginning of the season, and now I can say I told you so.
Mhm.
But you got to tell us something.
Do
So
you
can say
actually
that.
know something, and you're afraid
No, I
that
don't know anything at all.
Laurent will show up at your front door, or like,
Laurent is gonna come through my bedroom window like the Kool-Aid man.
okay, tell us what you.
I just think there's some stuff happening in there.
Yeah, me too.
Like obviously there's like the electronic part of it, but I think inside, I think that the shock body is bigger to accommodate some other tech that's not currently in, maybe is used in the motocross world, but not currently used in the bicycle world.
Why are
that
you
they would
afraid
need-
to say it?
Hot take. He's riding a Cronut shock.
No, I think he's just got
For
cone.
foes.
No, I'm just trying to get it going. But I just think he's running cone valves. I think
Oh.
that is
Well, so that new gas e-bike has cone valves. White
Very.
WP, politically correct. WP suspension cone valves.
yeah. So, but I think, I mean, this is
I don't
would
even know
just
what that is.
I know. But this,
I know you don't
I
know.
think that they've just had the shock body covered for so long, and I just think that they're just working on some stuff because it doesn't make sense how that bike works without. It just doesn't I don't understand how he doesn't have an idler and the thing is a hovercraft and it just blows through.
I actually haven't checked.
Impacts.
Does he have an O chain on it?
I'm looking actually right now, and he does not. But then, how do you explain Finn's bike?
Finn's bike looks good, but not as good.
We also runs his bars about
Slightly.
30 mils from the ground, so
Yeah,
got a
he's
drop
running
stem on that thing.
upside down sun lines from 2007.
Great year.
Him and Sam Blankensop.
All right. Well, you can't tell us you told us so necessarily because you're speaking in code.
Cone valves
You're speaking in
would be
cones.
cool.
Would be the dopest dope.
Yeah.
Would be
Alright.
really cool.
You heard
to
it
have
here
cone valves.
first.
Mm-hmm.
Would be really cool.
You
just
heard
think
it
that
here
would
first. Dak
really
Norton is
cool.
on a team that's running WP suspension next year.
Yeah, no.
Take that to the forums and smoke it.
Yeah, gas is coming downhill, and I'm on the gas.
Oh my god.
They're going to EEWS, so
Oh,
downhill's next.
I'm getting so many people they just ask me, "Where are you going?" And I just look at them like blank staring. And I just literally say, "Ibis." Like, I don't know what I just had to come up with something. I'm just telling them. I'm like, dude, I'm going to Ibis.
I remember
They're
when I
coming to
told you you were
downhill.
going to Da Vinci back in the day, and you turned white as a ghost because you're like guilty. So if Dak turns white as a ghost after you say a team name, you know it's the one he's going to.
Oh man, don't even start with me. I don't need all this team rumors. Life is going on as expected.
Jokes on all of us. He's actually still in contract.
Yeah, and I got a +1 on we're going racing.
Yeah.
I mean, off the record, what's your plan for next year?
Off the record. Yeah, man, nothing's changing.
I'll go in and just cut out some audio.
Me and Aaron are bash brethren, and we're just getting.
That's right, brother.
We're gonna get to getting.
I mean, it's working out pretty well for you, so that sounds like a great option.
Yeah.
Well, moving on. Maxis make or break section. Last one of the year, Dak. What you got for us?
I gotta
Is
put
it
the
where you-
salmon. I gotta put the salmon on. We gotta cut the audio. I gotta put the salmon on. Can we put pause? Don't you guys gotta
All
pee?
right.
Get a LaCroix.
We'll press pause. Go put the salmon on the grill.
Yeah.
All right. Hold
Okay.
on.
Okay,
All
we're
right,
back.
ready to go.
Salmon's
We're
on
back.
the grill. Maxis
Salmon's
make or
on
break
the grill.
section.
Max's make or break section.
I have an echo.
Let me tell you, the rock garden lived up to its name. The classic. I don't know why we don't see more rock gardens in downhill. I don't know what has happened to the rocks. I don't know where they went, like Maribor, like
They've been
proper rock
harvested.
garden. But let me tell you, the old Mont-Sainte-Anne, it lived up to its name. A lot of wheels were broken, a lot of tires were flattened, and there are some bruised bums after the weekend. It did make or break a lot of people's race runs.
I would agree.
Yeah, dude. Ethan Craik across that thing was. Yeah, there was some sick scrubs over the last little roll.
Dude, people were going into that so much hotter than I remember.
Okay, was
I don't remember it
something
being
opened
possible.
up? Was like the High Line opened up more?
It was
No,
taped
they
differently.
cut a tree out in the setup, and then there was a full inside that almost no one took, and then there was a wide setup for the inside.
Because I was thinking about that while watching, and I was like, I don't remember anybody going this fast through the rock garden. With the point where you're skipping the double that Aaron mentioned in the broadcast, the little rock
the one
double
people
thing.
used to do.
Yeah,
Like, it was
where
gnarly.
it was like it was kind of like you had to do it. People were like skipping across that now.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know where, like, what happened to it, where something changed, but people are going faster in.
Yeah.
And then it looked like something opened up after that little double where you had more exit speed as well. And honestly, I thought at one point someone was going to Chris Van Dyne themselves and just like put their front wheel sideways at the bottom of the last roll and just taco the front wheel.
Dude, you were hitting that roll hot this year. I went into the rock slab with my foot off in my race run, just like one-footed, throttle wide open, out of control. Did not, and everyone was like, "Oh, you look like you weren't even trying. Were you trying after you crashed?" I'm like, "No, I wasn't. No, I was just cruising down, dude. Cruising down."
What do you think about the woods where you crashed? We obviously didn't see it, but it seemed like a lot of time was made up there, and it was off camera. And that was a newer wood section, correct?
That I crashed
From
in the
last
wood
year, it was
section from
new.
the year. Yeah, I crashed in the wood section from the year before, but there was the classic Mont-Sainte-Anne wood section that
They
we've
ran
seen
the-
in years past was different. So it was like it was honestly just a new long straightaway, and it was real loamy. So in years past, you had seen like the main pedal in the woods, and then you see us turn left where the step down was, and it would come out into the open and go down the ski slope.
Yeah.
Now we just stayed left in the woods the whole way, and then crossed the ski slope and entered the woods again, which I thought it was great, other than the fact that I crashed in it.
So that was the section they ran up until 2015. The like bobsled section.
No,
We
instead
dived
of
back
the
into the
we
woods?
just went left. We went left and came out in the woods kind of at the end of the little bobsled section and went across the ski slope and went into the old woods, the woods to the right of the ski slope of the bobsled section. So it's just a change up, and they brought Velo Solutions came in to do it. They built a real fun section that they thought was going to have a lot of line choice that didn't really have any line choice, just because it wasn't really that wide and the line selection was a bit out of the way. I think they did a great job with the section. It was really good. I just don't think people fully comprehend how the best riders in the world will always choose the best line. Like, unless it's really difficult. And that section was almost what I mean, I don't even want to say this, because it was two football fields worth of trail, but it was pretty simple. Like, it was like almost like a blue trail. And I don't need to erupt the internet of, oh, they're racing a blue trail. It was great. It was loamy, had a bunch of roots in it.
It looked really cool.
It was fun.
Shot really well.
It was fun to ride, and for as gnarly as Mont-Sainte-Anne is, it was nice to have like a good section of track. There was plenty of gnarliness in the last section at speed, like that. We've seen that like gap I did in semis, and dudes did it in the race. I mean, the track was great. It was maybe 45 seconds of the track, and it was plenty difficult. I mean, I got caught out in it just because I oversteered out of a corner because the track was real narrow, and ran over a rock and tipped over. Like I just oversteered. I didn't even crash. I just come out of a corner and oversteered and came out a foot to the left of where I needed to be. And when you're riding that speed, it's easy to do that. And ran over a rock and tipped over. I mean, it's kind of a goofy crash, like a racing incident, if you will. It's not like I had an explosion, but I thought it was a great section of trail. It wasn't that difficult. It was difficult in the sense that the trail wasn't built for the speed you were going. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I found it interesting that, after this whole Warner Bros. ESO Discovery stuff, we heard they're going to make all the tracks 3 minutes or whatever. They made Mont-Sainte-Anne longer, like with adding that instead of going on to the ski run.
The time was still like the same as it always is, though. No,
it was just over 4 minutes. Yeah,
I think is maybe like that's probably. I don't know. I feel like over the years it kind of always are a little.
They started on the patio instead of in the gondola house with the classic roller start.
Yeah, I wonder, Dakota, do you know why the roller start wasn't happening?
I probably because they wanted to shorten the track, or they didn't want us warming up in that building. Maybe I'm not sure. Yeah. Maybe there was no place to warm up, and the best way to get it so we could warm up was next to that building due to the weather.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Like I was into like the new section. I thought the track looked pretty sweet this year. It just looked rad all the way down between a bunch of it being really dry in practice and just dust exploding everywhere and gnarly in its own way there, and then the classic it rains at MSA and it's really good in the open and pretty sketchy on the rocks. Kind of just lived up to what you
had everything. It was a track that had everything. It had
it always does.
You had mud holes, you had slippery jagged rocks, you had loam sections, you had a straight up rock. I mean, it's a classic racetrack. It's East Coast roots and rock. It's great. It was that new section was loamy. It was fun and it was hard to ride fast.
Yeah, they just overall, just adding to that, it had the like classic gnarly lines that if you wanted to, you could risk yourself and like gain some time.
Yep.
It's like you saw in the finals was just that the gap, the Greg Menard gap at the bottom over the rock, like which debatably ended some people's race runs, and it like that one you could gain a quarter of a second, third of a second right there, and you saw it in that whole last section. You'd pull time out.
Yeah. MSA is sick. It's always rad.
It was rough. It was 4 minutes of rough. Like proper 4 minute racetrack, the way it should be.
It was gnarly watching finals and seeing a lot of people, like the first 5 people went down.
Oh yeah. I mean, the women's race was like that. Everybody was slamming towards the bottom. Yeah. Gnarly. I mean,
Nino over the finish line just blew a front wheel.
Savage. Dakota, was it hard to see roots and rocks and details in the track with how many leaves were falling? Or leaves were on the because it looked super sick. All the colors in the trees and such a different look to MSA than almost every year past that I can remember. But then you could visibly see leaves falling during people's race runs. I was like, man, that looks really tough to see what you might need to see.
I posted taking gnarly World Cup track, and then you're kind of just following the trail where there's no leaves. I posted my helmet cam from my race run on my Instagram, but if you take a look at it, it's definitely difficult to see where you're going. It's just because your rocks and roots are brown, like the dirt, and then there's just all these like yellow leaves and red leaves everywhere. It just made it really hard to see.
Shout out to you for pulling a tear off on the little pedal section,
dude, and continue to stand up while pulling it.
Yeah,
People
that was pretty good.
I didn't. Well, I was gonna try to pull it where Loic did, and I was like, "This is a bad idea. I'm going to crash here." And
Where
then
did he pull
Loic,
one?
he pulled it on the high speed section
Yeah.
after the shark fin.
Yeah.
In like jagged, like, and it was really bumpy and like G outs and stuff, and just pulled it, got squirrely, almost went down, pulling a tear off.
Mm-hmm.
So I like just had the biggest glob of mud directly in between my eyes for the whole first section of the track, and I'm just like, the only thing I could think about is like, this sucks. Get this off of me. Where can I pull? There was no place to pull a tear off either. Had to ride the start of the woods with it in there, and I was just like, I was like, I need to pull a tear off here, and I need to pedal, so I'm just gonna do both.
It worked out.
Yeah.
Did you pull a second one?
I'm just gonna do both.
No, just that mud clod. That was.
I would love to see you pull a tear off over a jump someday in the air.
I would love to do that.
I've only ever seen Warren Nist do that, and about quit on the spot. I almost just hung it up right there.
Imagine if you could just kind of like toss it Stewart style with the rear end all high and then pull a tear off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It would
Limp
be pretty
wrist.
sweet. Oh, limp.
You never did that at TA? Pull the tear off over that table?
Like in the middle?
Yeah.
Nope.
Dude, I did not ride dirt bikes. I suck at pulling. If it was a roll off, I can pull a roll off in the air. But tear off, I'm pulling all of them. I'm punching myself in the face. None of it's working.
Pulls the whole stack. There's nothing worse than pulling the whole stack.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
Pulling the stack and having it hang from one side.
Oh, the old flop.
So did you get fined by the UCI for leaving trash on the side of the track? Or
That one's coming in the mail.
yeah.
I don't know what you're
That'll
talking
be
about.
200 Swiss francs. You didn't pocket it? Come on.
Yeah, you didn't see it, dude? I put it in my mouth, right? I just gnawed on it all the way
Pull
down.
it and tucked it down his jersey.
Yeah, while I was hanging out, chilling,
I will save that for later.
Just, sixth place in a World Cup race run with a crash. Just casually wrote it down, hung
We'll
out
get
afterwards.
there. We'll get there. Anything? Oh, people were jumping off the Stevie Smith rock roll.
I was not.
What the heck? That
Dude,
thing
no.
is huge.
No. I was afraid I would have went through the boards at the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, also, if you jump that thing didn't cover the whole track.
Mm-mm.
Like
The
you
wooden
could
landing.
easily, jump too far right, and then you're
Savage.
you're just. How about Ronan Dunn right after that in his qualifying run?
Oh my gosh.
You don't know me, son.
You don't know me, son. You don't know me, son.
I'm just kind of curious, like, what he was thinking in his head that was what needed to be said at that moment.
Just Goggins.
Well, have you listened to his runs?
He yells a lot, right?
Yeah, he's like, "Come on, you fucker, come on!" on all the pedals.
Wow, that's incredible.
Oh,
Who's man? Well, all right, we gotta keep this thing going. I think that's enough track talk. MSA is still the sickest, in case you forgot, and it's absolutely lethal when it's wet, as we'll kind of get to with racing talk.
In between wet. If it's like super wet, it's a lot better.
Yeah,
Not
to take away from Aaron just putting it to fools in 2016 or 17, whenever that was.
17, yeah.
But that is the most ideal rain track conditions.
Just sheets.
Yeah. That run's sick. I watch that probably once every 6 months just to remember greatness. All right, race recap. Surprise, surprise. We are going with mid-episode ad reads this week. If you thought I just forgot to put them at the beginning of the episode, guess again. And on top of that, I actually wrote some fresh ads. So please fight the urge to skip ahead, have a listen, and when you can, support the brands that support the podcast. Thanks. As most of you know, Industry 9 has a reputation for producing quality, top-tier wheels for nearly every cycling discipline. But what you might not know is they offer 11 anodized color options via their custom wheel configurator. A great way to lose track of time. You can choose the color of your hubs and each aluminum spoke to create a truly one-of-a-kind wheel set that you can't get from any other brand. Oh, but wait, there is more.
Industry 9 also offers an exciting range of cockpit components, including their premium IRIX headset spacers, and A-series stem that comes in a 31/8 and 35mm clamp. It also comes with 30, 40, and 50mm lengths. Just like their wheels, all cockpit components are customizable with the same 11 colors, meaning you could have a gold and silver headset, silver stem spacers, red faceplate, and blue stem body. You know, if you really want to capture just every color of the rainbow. To build your own custom wheels or cockpit setup, make sure to head to industry9.com. That is 9 spelled out. UK component brand Bergtech has long designed and developed components for racers and everyday riders alike. They're well known as the cockpit of choice for shredders like Jackson Goldstone, Veronique Sandler, and Josh Bryceland. But if you go on their site and have a look around, you'll find they offer a ton more products. Some standouts include their aluminum Penthouse MK5 flat pedals, my personal favorite, the Greg Menard Signature Bartender Grip, anodized UDH hangers and axles, titanium frame bolts, and offset shock bushings. It's kind of like a one-stop shop for all the finer details on your bike that often can be tough to find. A brand built on a passion for the sport and dedicated to the riders who choose to rock their products. Make sure to check out Bergtech the next time you want to give your bike some deserving love. You know what's way cheaper than the suspension service your bike desperately needs, or less of a hassle than finally replacing those C-frame bearings you said you'd swap after last winter? Slapping on some crispy, fresh Maxxis tires. Doesn't matter if you've got a month-old whip that came with some questionable rubber, or you're still rolling around on 26-inch wheels like it's 2013, Maxxis has got you covered. The tires of choice for the world's fastest racers, whether they're sponsored by Maxxis or not, you can visit your local shop or favorite online retailer to get the same tread patterns and compounds.
I'm going to kind of just go through overalls because that's what probably stands out the most here. But junior women's, Valentina took the win, also allows her to take the overall and become the first Colombian and South American to win a World Cup overall, which is super cool.
Really, really sick.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Shout out to her. Congrats on a great season. And it'll be really cool to see her in elites next year, I believe,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Outside of that, Arise van Leuven was definitely on a killer run and ended up going down over the berm. The Stevie Smith drop, kind of how her season's gone, very hot and cold. But she's got the potential. She's going to be up there once she bottles that potential.
She's first year, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, 'cause I
Yeah.
don't remember her name prior. So I think next season,
Her
I think it'll
and
be
Sasha.
her and Sacha Ernest. Because I believe, Lisa Boladu's on her second year as well.
I think there's another New Zealand girl as well.
There probably is. There's a lot of talent coming from down south, down under. Yeah, man. Other than that, did I say the overall? Lisa Boladu second, Arise in third. There's your overall junior women's 2023 season. Moving on, junior men. Nathan Pontvian takes a win and goes from 5th to 2nd in the overall, which is pretty crazy. The junior men's field got all mixed up because Pinky crashed out, unfortunately. Sounds like he broke some ribs, but he's okay other than that. And then Bodie Kunu's in 2nd, also crashed out and did not race. And so Nathan taking the win.
Metcalf not in finals either.
Yes, which is a bummer. DGAF Metcalf crashes out in qualifying. No finals because he was on that bubble of I think he was maybe sitting 5th in the overall, but he was tied with.
It's crazy there's no
Hauser.
protection in juniors.
I know. UCI hates juniors. I'll say it. Where's that T-shirt? Where's that bumper sticker? Yeah, man. He dropped the 7th in the overall, which is still great. He had a really rad season for his second junior season. So, other than that. Mylan Falquette in 2nd, back-to-back podiums. He goes from 9th to 4th in the overall. Also an impressive jump. And then Kimi Viardot in 3rd. Viardot, French, in 3rd. First podium. Big shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think that's kind of it. Pinky took the overall. flex on everyone didn't have to race the last one, but we already knew that. So next year is going to be exciting because, as far as I know, most of those names are moving up.
Yep.
Going to be a few more fast French racers, but also exciting to see Ryan in elites. He's had a lot of promise with his times and how they would have compared in elites. So
yeah,
keep cycling them through. And
I think that's one of the rumors that's pretty widely known is no more GT team or GT factory team next year, we'll say. So it'll be interesting to see where Pinky goes.
I don't know. Yeah, he's a hot commodity right now.
Yeah.
All right. Continuing on, elite women, another class that Valley had already wrapped up the overall, but she just stuck it to everybody and took her, I believe, 4th win on the season, winning the last round.
Dude.
Pretty crazy. It has the asterisks of like a lot of other people nuke themselves in finals. Which doesn't take anything away from her result because I think she probably would have still won. She obviously wouldn't have won by such a margin. It was like 10 plus seconds or something. But yeah, I mean, Maureen, Tawny, Jenna Hastings, Phoebe Gale, all of them went down. Nina took a stop in the rock garden, and then, like you were saying, her front wheel exploded off the landing. A little Nico Malali incident. Still took it across the line.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Kyra coming off the rim.
Yeah, I tried to do the math on it, and I believe Nina, before that stop on the rocks, was just over a second back on Valley. So it would have been close.
Yeah.
With the way, oh wait, shout out to Harriet Harnden. She's more of a enduro racer for Trek, but first podium in 3rd. Pretty dope to see. And then Veronica Winman in 4th. That's her best result ever as well. Overall, Valley in 1st. Nina holds on to 2nd. Marin holds on to 3rd. Monica Hrosnik 4th. Cami still finished 5th after missing the last 4 races this season. So pretty crazy. I believe Rachel Atherton was still like 9th in the overall as well.
Which is insane.
Which is really crazy.
Races or whatever.
Literally no, I think in the top 20, there were no non-factory girls.
Wow.
In the overall, which is pretty wild.
You know, we've been saying it. I've been saying it for a while, is there needs to be more women in the finals. Having only 10 in the finals is not acceptable.
It feels like a diss, you know?
Pretty lame. Pretty lame.
I don't know, like...
If you used ratios, there's more... They're cutting the women's field by more than the men's.
Yeah, and I'm super bad at ratios.
There's been a lot of legit girls, like Veronica Widman, who is actually, I want to say, good job too, because that was pretty sick. She's definitely very, very worthy of that result and should be there. I think she's a very good rider. Definitely should be there all the time. And last week she didn't qualify, I think.
Yeah.
Like multiple times she's fourth on the podium, and multiple times this year she hasn't even made it out of qualifying because the women's field is so stacked, which is really, really tough to see.
Yeah.
And the time gaps are so tight. Like it was like a second between 10th and 15th, I think.
Yeah. Let's just pull semifinals and do top 20 women.
Yeah.
That sounds super rad to me. And then in a few years, if everything keeps progressing the way it is, we'll just have 30 for men and women.
I just feel like people aren't talking about the women's class like that. Like, aren't mentioning how stacked it is, but also how much they're...
Is that our fault?
Like, no, because I feel like we've been talking about from the beginning, like there should be more women racing, like in finals.
Yeah. No, I know.
Especially with all the fast juniors that are coming up.
It makes you wonder. It would just be, they're going to do it. I know they're going to do it. They're going to go 10 out of qualifying, and it's going to be super lame. Like, I just don't know why we need to go that way. But anyways, a little bit of a emotional lull here in the race recap. Moving on I would say the women's class has the most excitement around how it'll continue to progress in the next few years. There's some positivity.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Elite men. Last race of the year. Let's start with you, Dak. You crash and you get sixth. You just don't do that. You can't do that. That's not a thing anymore.
I didn't think it was either.
Do you think you could have won?
I mean, I added the splits up.
You did the math?
I did the math. It was going to be tight. It was going to be tight. I thought I could win. I just sat in the starting gate, and I was like, you know what? Let's go. You know, let's go. I had like the conditions were really good for me. I think it wasn't dry and dusty. It wasn't wet and muddy. It was something in the middle, and I'm good at that. And man, 0.8 fastest at the first split, and was on the ground for a significant amount of time. 4 seconds laying on the ground till I started moving again. Maybe a second or two to get up to speed, I would think. So puts me at 5, 6, potentially 7 seconds lost. So, I mean, yeah, I hate to say it. I think I could have competed for the win. I believed I could have won. And like everybody said, you know, they're like, and then I flatted at the bottom. So, I mean, what do you do? I was going flat on the last sprint, and then kind of nursed it around the left, and was pretty slow off the right hand hip because I didn't want to do a 180, and then just tried to nurse it home the best I could. I mean, I rode fast, but that's why I didn't pedal to the finish line because I was like, I was like, I crashed. I'm going flat. I had like spokes blown out of the back wheel, and I'm just like, it was like ding, 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 you know, like I could hear the spokes hitting, and I was just like, I didn't know if I ripped the derailleur off or what happened, so I was like, just get this thing home, and yeah, it was tough. That's tough. 0.03 off the podium, and honestly, the amount of fast runs I've had and came in 6th place, 7th place, like on very good runs, and just been like, oh, I didn't have it for a podium today, and to lay on the ground and be in 6th, it doesn't really make any sense. And you know, semifinals in snowshoe, I laid on the ground and qualified, I think 5th. It's just, yeah, pretty bizarre, really. Like, I know I'm riding good at the moment, and I don't really know how to even wrap my head around that. Like, I rode fast to the bottom because the goal was to get top 10 in the overall. And yeah, it wasn't like I was like kind of thinking like, hey, I don't want to crash again. Like, don't have a second crash. That really doesn't look good. And like everybody says, you don't know what happens. Like, everybody's like, so many people have said to me, like, you never give up. Like, you don't know what happens. Everybody else could have crashed too. But the reality is, like, if there's 20 dudes that can win at a World Cup and the times are that tight, like, you have to ride so on the limit to get a top 10 at the World Cup. Like, you crash, it's over. Like, it's so.
Or is it?
I guess that just says a lot about where I'm at with my bike setup, where I'm at with my riding, and how my head's been able to process information in the last few weeks. It's pretty cool overall. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and wasn't MSA last year where you flatted and didn't qualify?
Yeah, flatted and sat on the side of the track, and
so that's some good redemption right there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just, there's a lot to take out of, like, yeah, it would have been nice to like win a World Cup. That would have been pretty cool. Would have been nice, right? But at the same time, it would have been cool. But at the same time, to come out of this year, how I've been riding it, and it's like, I know that I'm capable to win World Cups now, and it leaves a lot of like want in my off season to train super hard and try to achieve that.
Yeah, I mean, you did the top 10. You're 9th in the overall. What was your previous best overall?
I've had it go haywire at the last race, the last
Yeah.
couple of years. I think 13th or 14th last year. I was top 10 into the last race of the year and screwed it up. So I achieved all my goals this year, which was like a big thing. Like the top 10 in the overall, that gets me protected to the final at the first race if they keep the ruling the same, and protected through qualifying for all of next year, which was really big. And then I wanted to get a podium. Like those are the two goals: get a podium and top 10 in the overall. And I was able to get 2 podiums. So going into next year, I mean, just try to continue to try to get top 5 in the overall, and is the goal for me, and then try to win a race. So I scored 770 points in the second half of my season. If I would have done that for the whole year, which I also didn't do awesome at every race in the second half of the year. I had crashes, I had issues, and still scored 770 points. If I would have done that in the first half of the season, I would have been in the top 5 overall, if not close to the top 3. So just try to keep going.
Hell yeah.
Shoot dang.
It's pretty crazy looking at the overall list of names and seeing your name in the mix with, names that have been in our sport for a long time, or a lot of people that have won races before. It's a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stoked I'm always stoked for you, but to have this race where you obviously could have been really close to winning and to still have a good result, ended on a lot of high notes, because you're right, there's been a lot of seasons where unfortunate shit just happens at the end, and this feels like the first season where you still had adversity, but some things actually just worked out right.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
hell yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
sick.
Whoa.
And watching your runs this season have been really sick. I
For
think
sure.
it's been a joy to watch from our end.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. It's
And-
pretty cool.
Yeah, it seems like you found a space that mentally and physically that you are putting down insanely fast runs, and like it seems like you're back to doing things. You're more comfortable doing things your way and not so much like the way that everyone else is doing it. Because watching you run, like just in the first section, you like pocket air to corner, just like jumped into it, that left-hander.
I'm glad you mentioned
And
that.
I was like, yes, Dak's doing it Dak's way. Let's go.
Yeah. Sorry, my phone was about to die, so I had to unplug my headphones. So hopefully you guys can all hear me still well. I
You're
think
good. You sound
I'm,
normal.
I'm yet to get this thing dialed in, but it's cool to like be okay. Like I've enjoyed racing. I think the real win, like if you talk about like the goals, like whatever my goals for the season, and the biggest thing was like I did not really enjoy being at the races before. And this is the first time where I've like enjoyed racing, and I'm enjoying getting to ride my bike down the hill in front of all these people. I mean, it's not, I'm not doing it in fear, and I'm not doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because I want to, and I'm enjoying doing it, and I'm racing. Like, I feel like more, it seems silly, but like freed, if you will, to just be okay with whatever happens, be okay trying to win, believing I can win. It's just overall, it's really cool to be in like the headspace that I'm in more than anything is the real victory coming out of the year. Like, yeah, like top 10 in the overall is cool. Getting World Cup podiums is cool. But what's really cool is loving racing my bike and enjoying the process of racing my bike. And that's like something that I've never had before. And the biggest victory from the season is just enjoying it. And I think that's really the thing that's going to help me see myself as one of those top guys, even though it's there, it's in black and white. Like you can't ignore that. Like it's there, but being able to in my head, just be like, this is where you are. Like, this is what you do. Like, it's not, the whole thing's not just going to fall over tomorrow and I'm going to it's not going to all topple over. Like, it's, and Big victories, man. Enjoying racing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that's like. It was always so damn stressful and for
Dude,
nothing.
it literally it is. It took me 8 years to enjoy it. Like to not be afraid to race.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy. I'll never forget at MSA in 2015, Shane Leslie being like, "Yeah, man, that Dakota kid's gonna be freaking fast." He like showed up at Eastern States Cup and like beat half of us. I was like, "Where'd he come from?" He's like, "Michigan." I was like, "The hell do you do in Michigan?" So it is crazy because 8 years ago at MSA, that was your first World Cup, and
Wild.
yeah, super wild. Well, that's a story for another podcast. All right. Should we close this thing out with give some shout outs to people doing well?
Yeah, probably should.
Probably
Yeah.
should. I mean,
Probably give credit where credit's due.
people probably watched the race. If Dak hadn't slid out, Jackson wouldn't have had the most insane run ever, right? But
No,
he
he
did.
still
His run was freaking crazy. Huh?
Dude,
Before we get there,
he still would have had a pretty insane run. I think, and also like as insane as Jackson's run was, Ethan Craik's run was equally as exciting to watch, even though he didn't go as fast. Like when I watched Ethan's run, it was like really sick to watch both those dudes. They were both going for it.
100%. And
Yeah.
and Gaetan Vig or Vige.
Gaetan,
Gaetan? Gaetan?
Gaetan Vige.
Gaetan Vige.
That dude used to be on Scott with Nico.
Yep. He still is sick, but he kind of took some time away, had some injuries. Only his second race of this season.
I saw that. Yeah.
It's insane.
Dude, no, yes, Jackson won. He was the only one to win 2 World Cups this season. But, Ethan, I'm going to fuck up his name again. Gaetan? Gaetan. Both of those dudes were kind of the standouts for me because their runs were really impressive and best results for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's like the underdog, It's always rad to root for them. I was super impressed with Jackson's run. I'll probably go watch it again after this because he's one of those riders that the way he dissects a track is so unique. For being a smaller rider, I think Aaron even said during the broadcast, you just don't expect him to excel at a place like MSA you just expect somebody bigger that can carry momentum or whatever it might be. And the way he doesn't look like he's trying, but when you really start watching his little movements, dude, he floats over everything and pumps everything. It reminds me of Troy a decade ago when he was young at MSA. It's very similar style, and the lines he finds are just really insane. And for him to win in Canada, keep Stevie's legacy going was pretty special as well. What about him getting fucking clotheslined and choked out at the bottom by quote unquote security? I was like, Jesus, what is happening? Let the man celebrate.
It was wild there at the bottom.
Yeah,
I think they were pretty on edge after the drunk guy ran onto the track.
Dude, they went straight up like Red Rover across the finish line poles. Do you see how they're like arms
linking arm? Yeah,
I was like, I don't want that job. That looks absolutely terrifying. Bunch of drunk Canadians sprinting down towards you.
Talking about how Jackson dissects the track and stuff. I guess the biggest thing for me that I think is crazy at his age is his confidence in his style of riding, and just how confident he is in picking his lines that are different. Like I was saying about Dak's lines, is like riding the track the way that's going to be the fastest for Dak. It's like, it's sick to see how confident Dak has gotten in that, and like knowing that like, hey, there might be a line that's faster for someone else, but this is the one that's going to be fastest for me. And the same thing with Jackson, and he's only 18 or 19 years old. For him to be that confident in his ability and his technique and just his racecraft to go in and ride the track in that manner and then it work is pretty insane.
I agree. A lot of racecraft, like maturity and racecraft for him. And I mean, maybe it's just a product of him being kind of like in the limelight from like a really young age, and who he is as a rider has always sort of been, I don't even know what you want to call it, like drawing a blank on words, like I don't know, like he's always been Jackson Goldstone, and people have always been into him as a rider and a racer. So like that confidence is maybe just natural in the way he rides. He doesn't need to, and he also has had a lot of success kind of always from a young age. There's no reason to question why or the way he's doing things. And to finish second in the overall in his first elite season, I think that he is going to continue to give everybody a run for their money next year.
Yeah, and the team around him as well. Like,
yeah, he's on.
Having
team.
Steve helps a lot, because Steve Pete obviously knows, hey, this line's fast or whatever. But I think from years of racing and bringing up Josh Bryceland, like Steve was brought up Josh, Rat Boy.
There's history.
So Bryceland was one of those dudes. Dakota's waving his hands.
Josh Bryceland DM'd me and said he really enjoyed watching me ride this week, and that was also the highlight of the weekend. Just gonna throw that out there.
Dude.
How sick is that?
That's so sick.
How sick
fanboying for you.
I'm just gonna fanboy real quick. Bryceland is so sick. Oh, sick.
Dude, he was one of those riders, like Josh Bryceland's one of those riders that had to do whips and stuff like that in his runs for him to have a good run. And I think with Steve knowing that and like having brought up Josh Bryceland, he understands with Jackson, like Jackson's going to have to ride the track differently for him to have these good runs. It's not a point A to point B straight line. It's going to be the fastest line.
Yeah, he just jumps over stuff. But Jackson just jumps over stuff. Rips corners and jumps over stuff. Like his ability to turn is really, really good.
Yeah,
1,000%.
It's sick, and it's going to be. I feel like in the next couple of years, we're in for some sick racing.
The Goldstone era. We going into that?
I think we're going into the Norton era.
I think yes. I'm just stoked for there to be some North American names mixing it up with what has been pretty French dominated the last so many years. Yeah,
and then British dominated before that.
Yep. Also, I'm really hyped to hopefully see Amory back next year.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of him, and he unfortunately just wasn't in the mix at all this year. And I can only imagine he's just in a cave in France right now, fucking on a rowing machine, doing something.
Oxygen deprivation mask on.
Yeah, just eating bread only and red wine. Yeah. Smoking cigs, just doing gnarly shit. All right. Moving on. Loic Bruni, he gets third. He wins the overall. Homie's just so good under pressure. Very, very impressive. I'm stoked for Loic. And yeah, man, put it together. How much more you can say?
A lot.
Finn was another one. He was freaking on one, and I was so gutted when he went down leaving that rock garden, because I don't know, he would have been up there and he maybe would have moved up in the overall. It was kind of tight around him and Loris, but yeah, man, that was sick to see. Just sick to see him giving her the beans, doing it in Canada. What more can you ask for?
He was riding sick all weekend too.
Yeah.
Like legit all weekend.
Yeah. Luca in 7th. Good way to end the season for him. Moves him up into 10th in the overall. Hey, man, just sick to see you and Dak, or Dak and Luca right there.
Yeah, he's kind of just been cruising there, like top 10s and qualifying and stuff. And
the quietest, fastest racer.
Yeah.
Maybe not like literally, but like he's always there. Every time I chime in, I'm like, oh yeah, Luka just still silently crushing it. There he is.
Yeah, in the Win TV interview, he was saying he doesn't think he could have gone much faster.
I feel like he always says some shit like that.
I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, he's always just so like humble.
He
about
says
it.
this. He says the same thing to me. He's like, oh man, it was a good run. Don't think I could have gone any faster. And it's like, but he's always so consistent, and at the same time,
Yeah.
he'll always be like, he's
just so humble about it.
So
Like,
humble about it. He's like, man, I felt like I was really trying. I said, you look like you made it look so easy. He's like, yeah, it didn't feel that way. You know, he's always like that.
Effortless.
Dude's legit.
Very effortless. Huge shout out to Dylan Maples in 13th. After getting to chat with him and, the opportunity he had with Commensal Muck-Off, maximizing that, dealing with all the pressure, and gets a career best. I was super stoked for him.
Yeah. It'll be cool to see where he ends up in the coming years.
Definitely. I'm hoping that his newness to the sport doesn't keep him from getting on at least some sort of a team for next year. Like, I think I'd have to imagine after his experience with Commensal Muck-Off, and he made it pretty clear that it's definitely just a fill-in for this year. It's not like tryout or whatever for next year. Hopefully they, put his name in somewhere or help him some guidance on finding a team. Because, dude, I mean, I don't remember if we talked about it during the podcast or if it was after we stopped recording, we chatted with him, but like he fully just went on QBP or BTI or wherever and like bought all of his parts for this year. Like he underplayed his privateer level a lot. And so, yeah, he's got to get on something. He's more than proven himself. And there's a huge value being a US racer, because there's never has been that much talent coming out of there. And he's one of the top names, kind of right behind everybody, Dak and Luka and that.
Yeah, US racer from a region where traditionally you don't see too many US racers come from.
Yeah, which is sick.
And there's a lot of people that ride bikes in that region. So
I
think there is some sort of value there.
Yeah.
Companies hinting at you guys, teams and companies.
I know. No, there was I had some people reach out after that podcast, so hopefully if it's not that, it's something else works out for him. So
sick.
Richie Rude, 17th, showed up and did one stage of an enduro and got a top 20. Freaking crazy. Expected. It's Richie Rude. I'm just stoked to see him racing downhill bikes.
It is so sick.
Yeah.
Like, did he have a flat this week too, or?
I don't even know. I didn't watch all of the race. I'm gonna be honest.
He looked so good all weekend, just like planted and shredding.
It's so sick.
I just wish he was in a short sleeve and shorts, but
dude,
I can dream.
Shorts and a 3/4.
Yo,
like, just past the elbow.
Those are actually long sleeves, but due to his arm size, they become 3/4.
Yeah, dude, it is so sick. He's such a good bike rider.
Well, that could be one pro of enduro sounding like it's going to the wayside, is we'll get Richie Rude back in downhill.
Yeah.
So Yeti made him this fancy carbon bike. They said, no mold, no prototypes. Straight to the molds, please. Only the best for Richie.
Straight to the molds.
Anybody else we're passing up, or I'll do a quick read through of the overall.
I mean, Ethan Craik just had a really sick run. Like, he was tapped from the start. So
I agree. Also want to point out that, like, what are my notes here? Oh yeah, he missed half the races this year. He only raced 4 of 8. And basically he was in the top 10 for the ones he did do. So it's kind of like second, oh my God, insane, which it is. But at the same time, there was some writing on the wall. He just wasn't in the mix consistently. So he's one definitely to watch for next year. I guess we didn't give a shout out to Bernard also in 4th, back-to-back podiums to close out the year. forever impressed that he's able to ride as fast as he is with how many hats he wears with the pivot team.
Just a general shout out to the Irishmen out there. You know,
all two of them.
No, dude, Jacob Dixon.
Oh,
he's
shit.
back. Yeah, he was out injured most of the year, and he made finals 22nd. So, yeah,
Correct.
3 Irishmen.
I didn't know you had Irish
finals.
roots, but here we are.
Dude, Ukrainian and Irish. Those are my 2 big ones here. Yep. But yeah, that was pretty sick. Ocean again, backing it up, top 15. He was like 11th or something.
The confidence. That confidence after a
12th.
win is a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also shows how different the tracks are and how you can be a winner one weekend and then you're 12th the next.
Ain't that a bitch?
It really does. Been there.
After reigning PA champ, in case anybody forgot. All right. Let's end this thing. Blake won the overall. Jackson jumped past Loris into second. Loris finished third in the overall. Finn kept fourth. Andreas kept fifth in the overall. Bernard sixth. Benoit in seventh after missing, the last 2 races. Pretty sweet. Troy kind of silently also in eighth in the overall. Boy Dak in ninth. And Luca rounding it out in 10th. Going to be exciting next year. There's so many names, so many people that can do something. Last BergTech Labor of Love Award for the season. Did you guys look into anybody?
I think this one's long overdue. We
Do I
tried to
have
look
written down
into
there?
it. Yeah.
All right.
We
I
tried
would
to look
agree.
into it.
Oh, yeah. We found him on Instagram. Daniel Castellanos is real. He does exist in social platforms. He had a 4th at Snowshoe, I believe.
A 3rd at Leah Gang.
Backed it up with a 6th this weekend. Yeah. I actually don't know his team situation. Do you, Dak? Dakota's silent.
No idea.
Okay.
Still silent.
He's Colombian, right?
No, he's Spanish, and
Spanish.
he's really sick at cliff diving. So I was sending Jason and Dak, and I was sending cliff diving videos of this kid.
I think it's fair enough. It is tough going through all of the different racers. He is one that doesn't have a team listed next to his name. And it does feel overdue because a lot of the other racers he's finished around all season are on factory programs. So that feels good. I like that. And now we have a way to reach out to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sick. I love it. That's been, again, I've probably said it in the past, but a really cool highlight of the season is getting to throw a little bit of dough at racers that deserve it like that.
I want to shout out to Tyler Irvin as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think
How'd Irv go?
He crashed in semis, I believe, but he qualified in, and then I think he had a crash. So, and he was our labor of love
From last weekend.
last week. So,
hell yeah, I dig it. He was very appreciative. And if you're listening to this, Tyler, promise we'll get you paid soon because I'm sure Spilmer hasn't done it. All right. Is that it? Is the 2023 World Cup season for B Practice Podcast over?
I think the racing part of it is.
I think so.
We get into the real racing now.
What's that?
Start conspiracy theories.
I like that. Man, I wish people could just see Dakota right now grilling as we close out this podcast. Smoking
I'm just
the
stirring
shot.
stirring the shrimp, dude. Stirring the shrimp.
Dude, we're having salmon and shrimp tonight. Damn.
Man.
Yeah.
All right, I'll come over.
We're eating good tonight. My mom is in town. She's been watching my dog for the whole race here, the race season. So making mom's dinner. You know, we did first night back, you know, we went to Aubrey's for beer and burger with some of our friends, Micah and Sarah, and
Micah.
Micah, he's the man. And then Mom's is in town, so we're taking care of Mom's. We're making her some salmon and some shrimp. Just taking care of the people, saying thank you. For watching our beloved Jeremy. And
Beloved Jeremy.
and I'm just working on the computer all day. Just haven't left a desk. Just big desk chair guy.
Yeah,
It's kind
that
of
feels awfully
weird.
familiar.
Like I wanted to be like so in the moment, like for the last couple races, like absolutely as present as I could be. I tried not to think about like anything else, just like the races. Don't like cross the finish line until you get there, kind of thing. And now that I'm at the finish line, I'm like, I don't even know what to do. So I'm just like, weird. It's a weird feeling. So just trying to get ready for next year, really, like get everything in line. Yeah, start the next race. And then hopefully can chill for a little bit once the whole silly season sponsorship stuff is over. And then I can, kind of settle down and work on the pump track and hang out riding a dirt bike.
Nice.
I dig it. Well, yeah, it was a really fun season to watch from a work standpoint. It'll be nice to have it be over for a few months, but I know that it's also I know I'll be missing it sooner than later, and it is crazy how quickly it does fly by. And I'm going to say it now just to put out in the universe. We got to get Tanner and I to a race next year. It's been too long.
I think they need us.
Yeah.
They need us more than we need them.
I mean, a massive shout out to anybody who listens to these. It feels like we've got a bit more traction going. I think that's just a product of doing them more often and having done these for 2 years now? It's been a little while. So yeah, man, thanks everybody that listens, chimes in, and hopefully a year from now that momentum keeps going. We'll be at some races. Maybe get Dak out here, do some of these in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I think it's almost time to do another inside line as well.
100%. That's actually one on the list for maybe we'll do it under the B podcast title, but just do another inside line. And I got a list of riders, team managers, people that are just involved with the sport that would be fun to chat with. So we'll get some of those going. And yeah, man, the show never ends for mountain bike media, but for now, the post-race podcast do. Yep.
And we'll be back soon.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening all season long to the B Practice podcast. Thank you to Maxis, BergTech, Industry 9 for the support and love this year. See everybody when we see you.
See you when I'm looking at you.